Hi everybody, my name is Maura Black. Welcome to today's CCK Live Under 5. Today we are discussing PTSD and sleep apnea. PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's very common among veterans. Sleep apnea is a sleep disorder in which a person's breathing is repeatedly interrupted during the night. There are three main types of sleep apnea. The diagnoses can vary depending on which type. One type is obstructive sleep apnea, another is central, and another is complex. Common to all people that are experiencing sleep apnea, the symptoms can include loud snoring, gasping for air in the middle of the night, waking in the night frequently, hypersomnolence, fatigue during the day, headaches in the morning, things like that are due to the broken or interrupted sleep at night. There are a lot of veterans out there who are suffering from both conditions. Based on a study from the National Institute of Health, veterans with PTSD have a higher risk of developing sleep apnea, indicating a causal connection between the two. And there's also a direct correlation between the severity of the two types of disabilities. The more severe a person's PTSD symptoms, the more severe their sleep apnea symptoms could be. This feeds into a primary theory for service connection that affects veterans who have PTSD that are later seeking service connection for sleep apnea, and that's secondary service connection. The National Institute of Health study, which we will link to the comments so that you can all take a look, indicated that PTSD and sleep apnea can be aggravated by many of the same factors, and that's the reasoning for the interplay between the two. Secondary service connection comes into play because, as I said before, if a veteran has PTSD and also has sleep apnea, and their PTSD is related to their military service, then it might be possible to argue that their sleep apnea is due to that PTSD. It is possible to receive direct service connection for both conditions. And what we know about PTSD and sleep apnea symptoms and the way that they play sort of against each other in an overlapping way can open up a pathway to secondary service connection. The type of evidence that you might need for demonstrating your entitlement to secondary service connection, I think in large part is going to hinge on a medical nexus opinion. So in other words, can you obtain a medical opinion from a doctor or a competent clinician that outlines the way in which your service-connected PTSD causes or aggravates your sleep apnea? VA will look to that type of rationale in order to decide whether you're entitled to secondary service connection. So just a real-life example, if a veteran is service-connected for PTSD and later develops sleep apnea, the veteran may be able to establish secondary service connection for their sleep apnea as either due to their PTSD, in other words, caused by PTSD, or aggravated by PTSD. And it's important to keep in mind that those two pathways under the secondary service connection theory are available. So it's not just, the question is not just whether PTSD has caused sleep apnea, but also whether PTSD aggravates it. If the symptoms are very severe in PTSD cases, they can also be very severe in sleep apnea cases. Medical nexus evidence is really important to establish that link, but don't forget that it's also important to obtain lay evidence. If your sleep apnea you believe began in service, lay evidence can help to establish that by identifying the onset. Say that's the first time that you started to experience those classic sleep apnea symptoms like loud snoring, intermittent waking in the middle of the night, gasping for air, etc., then lay evidence can establish that sleep apnea maybe arose at that time. VA likes to see specific evidence that relates to your specific condition, but general evidence such as the National Institute of Health study to show a correlation between these two conditions can be important and persuasive. This is a quick rundown of a pretty complex topic, but we have plenty of information on our blog and our website. So please feel free to visit us there. And thank you so much for joining us today.